Kia ora Aotearoa. Welcome whānau to the War on News, your weekly sacred cow slaughtering assault on current affairs, beamed live from the palatial Stratos news bunker buried deep beneath the heart of the Greyland Republic. Liberal media bias? You betcha, sweet ass. And tonight's political media crimes against reason kill zone. The New Zealand religious right gathered to enlighten the country on the way politicians need to listen to their God, or else. National rebuild the class system one sir and dame at a time. Mummy told them never to play with the gypsies. Hoorah! Murray McCulley doesn't know if he's coming or going over Burma. Plus this week's newly sponsored Wanko of the Week and the Barack Obama People's Hero Award. Leading the War on News this week, brothers and sisters. Hands up who thinks the angry and scared Americans turning up to healthcare debates screaming socialism and Obama death panels only ever watch Fox News. Some drug addicts and pornographers have suggested that the ethically bankrupt insurance and pharmaceutical industries are fanning fear-mongering and misinformation through their corporate media proxies to ensure their parasitic monopoly of American public health continues to be raped for their profit margins while millions are left to rot due to poverty. Ha ha! Talking of evangelical news, next month the religious right are meeting to hold the New Zealand Forum on the Family, or as it's known by its Theo Con nickname, Little Baby Jesus Fest 2009. This year it's sponsored by Viagra, lending a hand with the second coming. The New Zealand Forum on the Family is the perfect combination of fundy Christian fanatics, corporate evil and political power, featuring right-wing blogger David Won't Someone Think of the Children Farrar, National Party optimist-in-chief John Key and leader of the opposition Phil No Mates Goff. One would have imagined after the exclusive Brethren fiasco that politicians would be about as keen as young Asian women around Dr. Richard Worth to distance themselves as far away as possible from the loony religious right. But in tight fiscal conditions, Christ's bling bother boys have the credit card, and this election, it's their shout. Seminars at the forum will include Darwin, scientist or alcoholic opium kiddie fiddler, what to wear for the pre-tribulational rapture, and how to spark Armageddon by eliminating small arms tariffs to Israeli settlers. There will also be demonstrations on the best way to legally spank Beelzebub out of your child, book-burning Harry Potter novels, and advice on how to have Christine Rankin as a spokesperson without having sexually immoral thoughts about her. I can't wait to get my invitation in the mail. Talking of the throw your hands in the air like you just don't care, God's hates gay marriage and abortionist religious right, how icky is it that the Fundy Family First campaigners are so convinced of their win in the ridiculously ill-worded $9 million waste of time because all political leaders have already declared that nothing will change referendum, that they've already booked a hotel and a victory party to celebrate their chance to gain the legal right to hit their children. Fundy Family First joked they wouldn't invite Sue Bradford, but were serious about inviting Christine Rankin. That arrogance at presumptuously celebrating something like winning back your legal right to hit your kids is just so distasteful, isn't it, brothers and sisters? Just thinking about it is making me throw up in the back of my throat. I need a soothing glass of Family First creamy sanctimony to settle my tummy. Yummy! Nothing cuts through the acidic taste of bile like the self-righteousness of Fundy Family First. By the way, does everyone know the Creationist Museum in America has a model of a dinosaur with a saddle on its back to explain how the world is only 5,000 years old? Yeah, I want our politicians listening to these people and taking their money and influence. We don't know how fundy we are. Talking of fundamentalist, our optimist-in-chief, John Key, has explained his bullets not schools Afghanistan strategy at a press conference last week. All John Key is saying is give war a chance. John Key, or as he's known by his military code name, Optimist Prime, told a press conference last week that he was optimistic that the SAS could fulfill their task of containing terrorism and stabilising Afghanistan all within 18 months. The Americans say 10 years, Britain says 40 years. John Key is optimistic that it can be done in 18 months. Brothers and sisters, I'm optimistic that I'll sleep with Angelina Jolie one day, but it doesn't mean I would leave my job, buy a ticket to America and then turn up on her doorstep tomorrow. Does John Key have the same doctor as Michael Jackson? I want to see a prescription list, because there's optimistic, me and Angelina, and then there's optimistic, like the SAS will contain terrorism and stabilise Afghanistan in 18 months. When the government weren't holidaying from reality last week and making up emission targets they have no intention of keeping whatsoever, they were quietly announcing their intent to privatise anything not nailed down, from infrastructure to hospitals to the electricity market. Seeing as the country voted Labour out because Helen looked like a bloke, this privatisation by stealth agenda doesn't really have a mandate. So where was the mighty voice of the people to hold our politicians to account? Well, instead of asking the government any questions at all, Close Up spent the week running down TV3 charities, giving the public even less reason to be charitable in a recession. The TV3 charities didn't help by buying their raincoats from child labour. We need to exploit children in the third world to help poor children in this world. Please give generously. Next week, the walrus of news, Mark Sainsbury, will be poking blind people who take too long getting on the bus, and we won't be holding our breath for Close Up to scrutinise their own network's charity collection over the Dancing with the Stars text charges. Ha ha! Double standard charges apply. Fine now, we got to move on. After creating a new class of people on the bottom of New Zealand society by claiming beneficiaries have lesser privacy rights than those with jobs, National this week created a new overclass by bringing back the cultural cringe of sirs and dames. National love class stratification, the more fear of being in the newly created Benny bottom class with no privacy rights in the state, and a higher class that all those middle classes frightened about being in the no rights bottom class can aspire to, the more society becomes proper. Arise Sir Dickwad and Dame Rich Bitch. One in particular deserves special mention, Dame Margaret Shields. She was a former Labour Party cabinet minister who refused Helen Clark's appeal not to denigrate the Distinguished Companion Award by taking up the National Party re-stratification of the class system Dame title. She said the reason she accepted the title of Dame was overwhelming support from the public and people who had supported her for years. They were annoyed when I got the award and no title. Oh, the dear old duck. Bless her. Of course, some communists might say that Helen gave the recognition to Margaret and she doesn't seem to get that. What her gaggle of girlfriends think is irrelevant. Utterly irrelevant. It was given 8 years after knighthoods were abolished. There could have been no anticipation of being made a dame. She's wrong, she's disingenuous, and she's in the raptures of her own vanity. These are the sort of unworthy and undeserving characters that were choosing to honour themselves last week, like it wasn't enough to be given that New Zealand honour. Because that's not enough. Margaret Shields wants more. They all want more. But this time it is personal. They are the ones taking it for themselves, contrary to what they feel they have to assert in public. At 9 years service, she's in the full whack of troughing entitlements and pensioneering of ex-MPs too. What's a knighthood between first-class trips for her and her partner to the UK every year forever? Dollop it all on, eh? Far now, we gotta move on.